Welcome to Patty's Aquatics. So today I'm going to be setting up the 65-gallon tank I just set up. If you go back one of my old videos, probably one of my most recent ones is my Dirted Filterless Fish Room Vlog episode 2. I set up this rack for it. And today we're going to completely set it up. And what we're going to do with it is make it dirted, filterless, and airless like all my tanks in my fish room. But we're going to do it for a species of fish you don't normally do with a dirted tank, and that is an Oscar cichlid. So stick around and I'll show you how I do it. So when I got this tank, initially I wanted to do something with it different, something that I haven't done and something that a lot of people don't normally do with dirted tanks, just so I could see if I can achieve it and maybe help people along the way if they'd be interested in it. So I've always loved Oscars. I used to keep Oscars. Actually, my first Oscar was in this actual tank years ago. I got this tank from my son, and he gave it to me some years ago. I got an Oscar, and then when my fish room grew, I stupidly gave some tanks away, and I gave this back to him. Well, he gave it back to me because he no longer needs it. So perfect opportunity. So how am I going to do this? Well, I have plenty of how to set up dirted tank videos, which I'll link over here and probably another one right here. So what I'm going to do right away is I'm going to throw my dirt in here. You can go on those videos to kind of see how I did it, but let me get the dirt in here and then we'll come back to it. So I have the dirt in, got my about 1-inch layer. As you can see, I left a little trench in the front, so when I put the sand in, you don't see that dirt layer. You will see it in the sides potentially, but I don't really care because I eventually will be building this up and putting a second layer on it, second level of the stand. So, like I said, go back and watch some of my old videos if you want to know exactly my soil breakdown, but briefly, it's 2 cups of organic potting soil to 1 cup organic compost. Then I throw some Osmocote in there, which is a time-release fertilizer, all in hopes that it'll keep my dirt going strong, waiting for all those nutrients from the top of the sand to be able to work its way down. My oldest tank is 3 years old and it's still going strong, so I'm hoping it's doing okay, but however you want to do your dirt is up to you. There's obviously the Father Fish additives, which he's been working on for a while, which will give you all different types of minerals and different things to put into your soil, which will help that longevity of it. People do all different things, so just do your research and decide what you want to do. This is what I do. Next is the sand, so let me throw some sand in. So I have some sand in. I have almost 2 inches, but you might be asking yourself, wait a minute, Patty, how are you going to put an Oscar cichlid in here without worrying that it's going to dig in the substrate and hit your dirt layer? Well, that solution is egg crate. I cut a piece and I'm going to put it on top of the sand here and then cover it with probably another 2 inches of sand. So potentially if this Oscar does decide to dig some, he's never going to reach that dirt layer because there's going to be adequate enough sand underneath this egg crate and on top of it. So let me put it in here. All right, so I got it on there, and all I got to do is put more sand on top. Like I said, I'll probably put another 2 inches or so, and then that'll be the substrate. Now, I know there are different ways to be able to do this. You could put, without this egg crate, you could probably just put a bunch of small rocks all over the surface, but I really didn't want that. I like the sand look. And also with this, you can still plant plants in it and their roots will grow down through the holes of the egg crate. So let me throw some more sand on here and we'll show you what the finished substrate is going to look like. And that is our substrate. So that sand is probably a good 4 inches deep at least. So next up is hardscape. Okay, so this is the makeshift hardscape. Rocks wise, I don't know yet. After I get some plants in here, I'll scatter them throughout the tank. This piece of wood, I like it here in the corner. Initially, I thought about standing it up and I was going to super glue it to a rock because it still floats a little bit, but it's not sticking with the super glue for some reason. So I turned it on the side, and I think I actually like this better because especially once the Oscar gets bigger, there's going to be more swimming room in here. And I know that's probably going to be the next thing. Well, Patty, you can't put a Oscar in a 65-gallon aquarium. It's just way too small for it. Well, you know, let me worry about that. I think it's going to be adequately fine. And if it grows way too big and it succeeded in here, well, then I'll find it a better home and show everyone that this is possible. But anyway, next up is plants. Now, for plants, you ever hear that saying, rob Peter to pay Paul? Well, that's what we're going to do. I'm going to take as many plants out of here as I can, a lot of Ludwigia, a lot of Dorsage, and then I want to grab as many of these smaller crypts that I can in some of these tanks, because these rooted plants are going to be perfect. And I still want to get a few more swords to put in here. I think I have a couple floating in here, small ones that were in that pond. So let me get a bunch of plants in the tank, and then we'll be ready to fill it up with water. So this is it with the water in and plants in here for now. To get a closer look, I have some cryptocorn in there, dwarf sage, pogostem stellatus octopus. I have a few little tiny Amazon swords in there, here and there. Moneywort. I don't remember if that's moneywort or pennywort. And then some Brazilian pennywort that I got from LRB. So this is it for now. Like I said, as these stem plants grow more, I'll add more. I still want to get maybe a couple more swords or something to put near the back, but that's it for now. Like I said, let me put a heater in here and let me kind of get it temperature acclimated, and then I'll show you the Oscar that I got to put in here. Well, the tank has been sitting for a few hours now, and the water temperature is perfect, nice and 76 degrees and ready for the Oscar. So let me grab them and we'll throw them in the tank. All right, so he's got some pretty cool color that I've seen at my local fish store. And let's put him down in here. Now, he will probably go and hide and sulk somewhere, because that's typically what Oscars do. Like I said, I've had them in the past. He's going to pout. He's not going to like it. May not even eat for a day or so, but he'll get over it. We'll let him stop sulking for a while and get the camera out of his face. But while we do that, give me some suggestions for names for this guy. My daughter wants to call it Jabba. Our previous one was called Big Chungus, but give me some ideas. The name that gets the most votes in the comments, drop them in the comments, is what I'll name it. So that being said, we'll give this guy a few hours to unstress here, and we'll check back. Well, those couple hours turned into a couple weeks. That Oscar honestly took about a week and a half to stop being a baby and actually acting like an Oscar and swimming around and begging for food. Now I just turned the lights on, so he's sulking right there at this moment, but I assure you, he's acting like an Oscar. Now, I did make some changes to this tank over the last 2 weeks and upgraded it to really where I wanted it. I will get into that in a second, but first let's talk. Let's talk about this Oscar and this setup with this dirted tank. I know there's going to be people that are going to tell me that you cannot do this. This will never work. You can't put an Oscar in a dirted tank. Well, to the naysayers, I say, I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Now, I've already established that this Oscar is not going to be able to penetrate the substrate to the dirt level because of that egg crate that I put in there, okay? So that's a plus for me. Now, the other thing they might say is, well, he's going to rip up all these plants. You're never going to be able to keep him in here. Well, to that I say as well, we'll have to wait and see. Now, I really believe that by getting this Oscar as young as it is and keeping it in this planted tank, that it will grow up with these plants, and there's a very good possibility it'll be used to it and not want to destroy it, compared to, say, throwing an adult Oscar in here or a subadult that's not used to being around plants. Well, yeah, it's going to want to tear everything up. Now, obviously, Oscars have personalities like any other fish, but they can be a little more than other fish as well. So I really think that temperament and the personality of this fish is going to play a big role in it too. I might get a chill one, and I might just get a psycho one. You know, you just don't know. So we're just going to have to wait and see with that. But the big part of that, in my opinion, are a lot of these rooted plants, like those crypts I have in here, and those small Amazon swords. Those are going to be the staples for this. I want to get a few more types of Amazon swords, ones that don't get as large. And these stem plants, they play a huge role in the beginning here, because they're really going to help with balancing the tank with all the nutrients that are in the water. Now, long term, will these stem plants work? That's really to be determined. It's going to depend on this Oscar. I think the initial ones I have in here may be okay, but once I start trimming them, it might be harder to keep them in the substrate with this guy, but I don't know. We're just going to have to see. But that's where I'm going to rely on those rooted plants, and then also all the stuff up here, these floating plants. Now, the other thing is too, I'm going to hear is probably, how are you going to keep this Oscar in this tank with no filter and no air? It creates a lot of waste. Now, yes, you're absolutely right. An Oscar creates a lot of waste. In the past, when I had them, like I said, you watch them eat and you can see all the particles of food that'll come expelled out of their gills. So, and I can't keep a lot of bottom feeding fish in here that are going to help me clean up. So that's where my snails are going to be a big part in. I've already been starting to add some in here. So I have things in here, but also it's going to be that food web. I want to get that food web in here as soon as possible, to start that in here so that they can help break down the waste in here as well. So it's going to be that cycle of everything feeding off of each other. So not only will this Oscar be eating and leaving waste, but everything at that bottom of that tank, those microorganisms are going to be able to feed off of that, break it down, and help feed the plants. So that's the plan with that. And like I said, the motto of my channel here is to think outside the box. That's part of my motto. And that's really what this is all about as well. I don't like being stuck in a box where people tell you, you can't do this and you can't do that. If it's something I want to do, I'm going to try it. You can't succeed at anything if you don't try it. So that's the bottom line with this. And I love Oscars and I love dirty tanks, and I really would like to get them together. And like I said, only time will tell. But on to the upgrades now. Let me show you what I did. So first and foremost, I added a lot more stem plants. I trimmed one of my other tanks and I put a lot more clippings in here. Now, the reason for that is I learned my lesson in some of my past tanks when I first set them up, that you really need a lot of fast growing stem plants to really help fight off that algae and balance your tank faster and better. So that was the goal, and I still probably will add more and get it thicker in those areas. So that's the number one thing. And then number two, I don't know if you noticed the background, but I got a black background on there. Now, what that is, I don't like painting the back of my tanks for the most part, because what if I change my mind? I don't know if you're going to see this, just black poster board. Cheap black poster board for about $2. You cut it to size and you put some tape on it. Voila, black background. So I got that. And then you can probably see that I have a new heater in here. Now, that is from Hygger. I was waiting on that. They kindly, Hygger has been too good to me. They kindly sent me this heater I asked for this tank. And it's very similar to the one that I have in my puffer tank, that has a controller on the outside with a temperature controller, and it can adjust everything off of there. And it's also got the automatic shut off if the water level goes down below the heater, for safety. And I really love this heater. Like I said, it's very similar to the one in my Oscar tank, or my puffer tank. And I highly recommend, if you're interested in something that's like this with this heater, I will leave links within the description of this video. But like I said, Hygger has been very nice to me, and I'm very much appreciative to their kindness. And I absolutely love their heaters. I really do. The technology that they have on them is just great. So that's the next thing that I did. Now, what else did I do? Well, if you see the top, I put some egg crate up here as well. Now this is just going to be temporary. Now the glass tops for these with the 65-gallon tank, these are oddballs. It's like 17.5 inches by 17.5 inches. And I can't find in my local fish stores any normal size tops that go with that. So I looked up online and on Amazon, they wanted $75 for these two covers. And I think that's just absurd. So what I did for this now is just put this egg crate on here just so he can't jump out. But before winter, I need to put something else on here to stop this, to keep heat in and the condensation. I was looking at other DIY options, like other big light covers like this that are clear that I could put on here. So I will be taking care of that before winter, but that's that. So those have pretty much been upgrades of the tank since the 2 weeks if you've seen it. But like I said, this is the finished product. I'm absolutely excited with it, and he's out and swimming now. And I will give him some food here at the end of this video yet, so make sure you stick around. But the floating plants as well, like I said, that's going to play a big part as well, all sucking nutrients out of this water. And I absolutely love this fish. He is so personable already, and I really think this is going to be successful. And I hope you stick around to follow this journey with me and show and prove that you can keep Oscars in a dirty tank. Well, this is where I'll wrap up the video, but I'll put some B-roll footage in here. You can see of my Oscar eating while I talk. First, I just want to say, like I said earlier, you can't succeed at something if you don't try. My entire fish room is something that shouldn't be able to be done. You know, if I listen to everything online of everything that you can't do, what you're not supposed to do, this shouldn't be possible, having no filters, no air, all dirty tanks, keeping a Hygger puffer in a dirty tank. Well, that's the same here. I love Oscars and I love dirty tanks. So I want to incorporate the two. I think I set myself up for success, but only time will tell. You never know. But that being said, don't be afraid to try things in this hobby. That's the fun part about it. It's a hobby and you want to do things that you want to do. Just do some research and know what the pros and cons of them are and just be ready. So also, I'm offering memberships to my channel. I haven't really broadcasted. It's been available for a couple months now. I will never change the price on it. So if you want to hit that join button and join me in this little dirted tank odyssey that I have going on here, it'd be much appreciated. Also, I have a link on the description of my channel to get to that join button, because I have noticed that iPhone users like myself cannot hit that join button or have it appear on channel pages quite a bit. If you go on to the computer or desktop version, that's where you can find it. So I have a desktop version link on my channel description to try to go backdoor to get to it. So if you're interested in joining my channel as a member, much appreciated. There'll be many perks coming once we grow a little bit more, and that'll be all listed on there. But other than that, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't, and make sure you hit that notification bell because you don't want to miss any of my upcoming projects. Then always remember to think outside the box and take a step back into nature. I hope to see you next time here at Patty's Aquatics.